I cannot believe they would risk keeping Einstein in such a poorly defended area.
Believe it or not, they did. And now we have him. The transmitter is undetectable and has a range of 500 miles.
What makes you think the Allies will try to rescue him? Certainly they think he died in the attack on the base.
That would have been true, had I not leaked information about Einstein's capture and scheduled execution. The Allies will come for their prize.
And we will be able to track him through his watch.
Yes, comrade. And he will lead us right to the Chronosphere.
Einstein is gone, comrade.
Allied coordinates coming in now.
With the Chronosphere and the Iron Curtain, soon we will stand invincible. Prepare a strike team.
Be careful. The Allied radar automatically sends a destruct code to the Chronosphere if an intruder is detected. If you are detected before the radar is captured, we could lose the Chronosphere.
Losing the Chronosphere is not an option.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
New construction options. Building.
Awaiting orders.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, comrade. Affirmative.
Construction complete. New construction options.
Yes,
Building.
sir.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete. New construction options.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
New New construction options. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Report acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction
Yes, sir.
complete.
Affirmative.
New construction options. Building.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. New construction options. Unit ready. Building.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building.
Reporting.
Affirmative.
Vehicle affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Waiting order. Acknowledged. Comrade. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds. Repair.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Repairing.
Acknowledged.
Unit repaired.
Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Unit repaired. Silos needed. Building. Building. Construction complete. Building. Construction complete. Unit ready. Building. Structure sold.
Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Building. Unit ready. Building. Unit repaired. Construction complete.
Vehicle
Acknowledged.
reporting.
Unit ready. Building.
Comrade. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Base
Report
under
acknowledged.
attack. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Comrade.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Reporting. Vehicle reporting.
Construction complete.
Awaiting orders.
Repairing. New construction options. Unit repaired. Building.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Acknowledged.
New construction options. Unit ready. Building.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Affirmative.
Base is under attack.
Acknowledged.
Building. Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Waiting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Vehicle
Repair.
report. Acknowledged.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Acknowledged.
Spy
Affirmative.
plane ready.
Waiting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative.
Repairing.
Affirmative.
Insufficient
Awaiting
funds.
affirmative. Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Unit repaired.
Comrade. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Spy plane ready. Select target.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting.
Comrade. Acknowledged.
Select target.
Vehicle
Reinforcements
acknowledged.
have arrived.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit repaired.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Building.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete. Building. Construction complete. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Waiting order. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Spy
Yes,
plane
sir.
ready.
Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Building. Structure sold. Construction complete. Repairing. Building. Construction complete. Unit repaired. Structure sold. Building.
Yes, sir.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building. Building. Repairing.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Waiting order.
Select target. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Waiting order. Affirmative.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete. Unit ready. Building. Unit repaired. Building.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. New construction options. Unit lost. Building.
Reporting.
Repairing.
Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Spike lane ready. Prepare. Select target. Unit ready. Building. Building. Unit repaired. Insufficient funds.
Report affirmative.
Unit
Orders.
lost.
Affirmative. Of course. Affirmative.
Very well. Yes, sir.
Awaiting orders.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Awaiting
Construction
orders.
complete. Preparing. Unit ready. Building. Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost. Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative.
Prepare. Unit
Vehicle
lost.
report. Affirmative.
Unit
Reporting.
repaired.
Affirmative.
Preparing. Training. Insufficient funds. Unit ready. Training.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Training.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds. Preparing. Spike lane ready. Unit ready. Training.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost. Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Insufficient
Acknowledged.
funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
lost.
Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Preparing.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Select target. Unit
Awaiting
prepared.
orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Waiting orders. At once. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Base is under attack. Unit ready. Building. Repairing.
Comrade, acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready. Select target. Select target.
Comrade,
Reinforcements
acknowledged.
have arrived.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready. Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative.
Sufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Ready and waiting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Lost.
Affirmative.
Waiting orders.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Spy plane
Affirmative.
ready.
Affirmative.
Select target. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Waiting orders.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Ready.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds. Training.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Yes,
lost.
sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Training.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. 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 Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Engineering. Affirmative. Reporting.
Our base is
Acknowledged.
under attack. Spy
Acknowledged.
plane ready.
Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Awaiting
Unit
for affirmative.
Comrade. Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Repairing. Unit
Waiting
lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Insufficient funds.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Lost.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Ready. Select target.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Ready and waiting. At once. At once. Very well. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Very well.
Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
Very well. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Agreed.
Building.
At once. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Spy plane ready. Unit ready. Building. Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Very well. Very well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Training.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Very
Training.
well. Affirmative. Very well.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. 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 Engineering. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready. Select target.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target. Building. Insufficient funds.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Engineering. Affirmative. Vehicle
Unit
report.
ready. Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
New construction options. Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative.
Unit
Ready and waiting
ready.
at once.
Building.
Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack. Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative.
Repairing. Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Repairing. Repairing.
Vehicle report. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Very well.
Unit ready. Building.
Engineering. Affirmative. Engineering. Affirmative.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Spy plane ready. Select target. Preparing. Unit ready. Building.
Comrade. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit
Comrade.
ready. Building.
Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Waiting order. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready. Unit ready. Building. Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Awaiting orders.
Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Spy plane ready. Preparing. Unit ready. Building. Select target. Unit prepared. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Select target.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Naval unit lost.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Naval unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Naval unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Affirmative.
Spy plane ready.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Select target.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir.
Insufficient funds. Reinforcements have arrived.
Waiting on affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Vehicle
Spy
reporting.
plane ready.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost. Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Select target. Unit ready. Building. Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds. Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building. Select target. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit lost. Spy plane ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Select target. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Insufficient
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Waiting
Rail
order.
area
Acknowledged.
lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Vehicle report. Affirmative.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have
Report
arrived.
acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Spy plane.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Report acknowledged.
Naval unit lost.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Building. Unit
Comrade.
ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Select target.
Vehicle report. Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Waiting order.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready.
Affirmative. Waiting order. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders.
Reporting.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Select target.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Saved.
Affirmative. Comrade. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Insufficient
Reporting.
funds.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Comrade. Acknowledged.
Select target. Reinforcements
Waiting
have
order.
arrived.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Comrade.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Ready and waiting. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Agreed. At once.
Spy plane
Agreed.
ready.
Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. At once. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir? Of course. Of course.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir? Yes, sir? Yes, sir? At once. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Very well. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Of course.
Unit ready.
At once.
Building.
Yes, sir?
Mission accomplished.